Hello. A wise person once said that life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving in a pretty and a well preserved body. Rather, skidding on the broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up and completely worn out, loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride!" My guest today on the show, that is Drew Echelberger from United States of America, embodies this quote to the core. He is an adventure cyclist and is currently cycling around United States of America. Up next, he talks about his cycling journey and answers all the questions I asked him about this incredible journey that he has undertaken.
Hey y'all, what's up? I just got back from a ride and we are gonna do 10 questions with loud thinking. So, here we go. Okay, so let's see, what do we got here? First question number 1. When did your cycling journey begin and how long have you been cycling? All right. Well, I've always ridden bikes all my life. As a child and a teenager, I always had some cheap department store bike to commute around the neighborhood, to school, to and from work. Nothing special. I've always been a swimmer. I swam competitively from the age of 5 to 18, coached and ran a swim academy from 16 to 24. I never really considered myself a cyclist despite not getting my driver's license until I was 18. In college, I got into mountain biking and trail riding. I'd say at the time, I guess I considered myself a mountain biker. I injured myself a lot on the mountain bike, breaking multiple bones over the course of several wrecks. Decided to take a step away from the bike, got into whitewater kayaking for a bit before pulling my dad's old 1987 Peugeot Tourmalet from collecting dust off the wall in the garage in the summer of 2014. I tuned it up and promised myself I'd ride my bike to work at the pool and bring my lunch from home every day all summer long. I quickly fell in love with road cycling, and before I knew it, I was going on 20, 30, 40, 50, 100-mile rides. Next thing I knew, I got a second job as a bike messenger, then got some clipless shoes, pedals, a cycling kit. I was hooked. That summer, I decided I wanted to cycle across the country the following summer and spent an entire year training and researching and investing in gear, learning how to work on my bike, and preparing my mind and body for long days in the saddle, riding around the city of Louisville, Kentucky. That summer, I did my first bike tour. It was 3,100 something miles through 14 states, Canada, and DC in the northeastern United States. Came home, decided this is what I really wanted to do. Worked for about 2 more years, saved up some more money, upgraded my components, and then I left to ride across the country all the way from Louisville to Vancouver, all the way down the Pacific coast and the Baja, and then up to the Grand Canyon, down to Big Bend, and now over here to Austin, Texas, where I've been for the last 9 months. So eventually I'd like to make it all the way down to Key West in Puerto Rico, back up the East Coast through the Blue Ridge Mountain Parkway and home. But only time will tell. We'll see where the road leads me. All right, question number 2. How has cycling changed the way you look at life? It's a good one. Cycling has changed the way I look at life by allowing me to slow down and immerse myself in my environment. Whether rural or urban, the bicycle moves at the perfect pace to ingest your surroundings without feeling rushed the same way you do in a car or dragging too slow like you do on foot. It has helped me to learn not to take advantage of any moment and do my best to attempt to live without regret. I find so much joy in cycling. I just want to document that and share with the masses to inspire more others to get out there and travel by bicycle. There's nothing better than adventure on two human-powered wheels. Question number 3. Why did you decide to cycle around the country? Let's see. I wanted to cycle across the country now, while I'm still young and in good health, with no debt, no children, and no long-term career commitments. I wanted to do it now before I needed my knees replaced and became that midlife crisis guy, wishing and wondering what would have happened and how my life would have been different if I'd had gone on that trip. I figured go and do it now and live to learn through this experience to help me grow rather than live and work a life leading and building to some idea of a similar trip in retirement. I'm also writing a book and want to tell my story of the people I've met and the places I've been on two wheels. I want to share and curate these experiences into a documentary film and ultimately into a travel show fixated around adventure bicycle tourism. So, in essence, this is me earning my stripes in the field, doing the legwork, and establishing my credibility as a writer, traveler, adventurer, cyclist, journalist, documentarian, outdoor enthusiast, arts and culture expert, historian, content creator, curator, etc. All with the focus on all things bike travel related. Question 4. Can you tell me the high points of your cycling journey? This is hard. There's so many high points, it's hard to choose a few. I love the great outdoors, our national and state parks, our national forests, wilderness, and public lands. From the alpine to the prairie, desert, tundra, forest, and coastline, I've had the privilege to cycle through some of the most amazing places that most never get the chance to see in their lifetimes. Oftentimes, though, it's the small towns and people within them along the way that make your trip the most special. Those strangers you sit next to at a bar who take you in, give you a warm shower, a cozy bed to sleep in. The people who feed you a home-cooked meal while they let you do laundry and tell your stories. For me, those moments make the others that much more worth it, and it goes the same way from both sides. Without each, neither would be as rewarding. I also love the opportunity to make friends and engage with local cycling communities in the big cities across the country. From having my bike stolen and being found and returned by someone who ended up turning out to be my long-lost cousin in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to becoming a big city bike messenger and helping start a courier company in San Francisco, California, to riding tandem bikes with the School for the Blind in Austin, Texas. It's the bike-centric community engagement that keeps my passion alive. Question number 5. What is the secret to long-distance cycling? For me, the secret is breaking everything down into smaller, more easily digestible chunks. Don't look at it as 100 miles all at once. See it as 1-hour chunks or 10-mile segments. Find small rewards to stop and take breaks. And then when you get there, instead of stopping after 500 feet of climbing, maybe you change your mind and decide to stop after 1,000 feet of climbing, and so on. Good music or a good podcast to keep yourself mentally stimulated also helps. Quality clothing and a bike that fits you properly will also keep you comfortable and focused. If you're not comfortable, you won't enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you won't want to ride. Making sure everything fits and works properly is paramount to long days in the saddle, especially if you're fully loaded down and self-supported. It's not necessary. You could go out on any old bike and go for a long ride. It just won't be as fun or enjoyable. Good gear ain't cheap, and cheap gear ain't good. If you want to do something properly and do it right for the long haul, I suggest investing in some quality gear. You also have to really love cycling, or you're never going to spend hours on end doing something you're not passionate about. I also really like sunflower seeds, caffeine, up-tempo music, and cannabis. That's always seemed to work really well for me. Might not work for everyone, but that really seems to help keep me pushing, focused, and in the zone. And last but not least, remember to move at your own pace. It's not about the destination, it's about the ride. Don't rush through it, enjoy it. Get comfortable making plans, but also be willing and flexible enough to change or abandon them if need be. That's where the magic really happens. Question number 6. One memorable place or incident during your journey. All right. It's way too much to fit in here, but I'll try and give you a few highlights. Let's see. The day I crossed the Colorado River from California into the Arizona desert. The first day I ever saw saguaro cactus camping off Gold Nugget Road on the backside of Guadalupe Mountain in the Sonoran Desert, on a new moon for the Gemini meteor shower, staying up all night with a bonfire, seeing hundreds of shooting stars, and hiking to the summit of the mountain for sunrise, looking back down at the campsite in the canyon below, catching a few hours of sleep in my tent, then packing up and riding through the desert into the night. Finding a secret beach in Point Reyes National Seashore that coincided with the supermoon. Seeing a mama bear and her cubs cross the trail in front of me in Grand Teton National Park. Accidentally ending up at the founder of the Adventure Cycling Association's house without even knowing it. Riding to Mexico for an afternoon and staying for 2 months. Making tons of friends. Going to all 9 lighthouses on the Oregon coast, and finally at the 9th lighthouse, seeing my first ever whale. Participating in the World Naked Bike Ride in Toronto, getting someone to paint "I rode here from Kentucky" on my back, and having that sunburnt onto me, ultimately becoming my alias. Crossing the Brooklyn Bridge, crossing the Golden Gate Bridge, seeing the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, crossing the Mexico and Canada borders, learning to surf, learning to sail, crossing the Continental Divide, working at a hostel. There are just so many. Mainly the people I've met and fell in love with. That's the big takeaway. Bar none.